So the M1 Max were released around this time last year, and all of the reviews at the time praised this thing for its incredible battery life, snappy performance. Um, and it should be made clear before I begin this review that all of the takeaways are just my personal experience. I am a college student and I have a medium workload this semester. I tend to do about 70% of my work on the M1 MacBook Air, and as long as you have a stable internet connection, this thing can't really be held back by its performance. Something that separates it from its contemporary laptops and laptops I've had in the past is this thing does not get hot at all when you use it. Even my iPad 11 inch, when it's charging, gets scorching hot and can almost even burn your hand. It's bizarre because it's using, I believe it's the A12X or something like that, the A12 Bionic. So it's not the M1. They do have the M1 in the new iPads, but I didn't get one of those. The amazing thing about the M1 chip is that it basically never has to use very much of its power at all for basic tasks. I've done light video and photo editing on this thing, and I've never really run into any performance issues, and the exports are always in a reasonable amount of time. In recent months, I noticed that it would be randomly having like a drop in FPS in like basic tasks for some reason, but this was due to the fact that I basically only powered it off maybe once or twice in the 3 months that I've been using it. I would just kind of close the cover, open it back up whenever, and it would just be on. I never really shut it down. It opens apps extremely quickly. I'm sure you've seen this in, other videos, other reviews, but that is one of the selling points is that it has an extremely snappy CPU and GPU. It actually opens apps way faster than my desktop with a proper 6 gigabyte of VRAM GPU and an 8 core like last gen CPU. So it's like pretty good desktop. Can't really compare. So I have the 16 gigabyte model, which I did that because I noticed some people were having issues with the swap memory usage. Essentially, this is where the computer will more or less use the SSD as a temporary form of RAM. So if you have, say, like 100 tabs of Safari open, this isn't a perfect example, but say you're, frequently using like 10 of them, the SSD is so fast that it can store a majority of these tabs, I guess, in the SSD instead of in the RAM. So it can just quickly go and take it from the SSD and put it in the RAM whenever you're using it. And this is, people on Twitter, some reviewers even have said that this has caused degradation in their SSD, meaning that, it could wear down sooner, it could lead to slower speeds. So this is definitely worth considering if you're looking into getting the 8 gigabyte model. You might want to do some more research on that. I don't have all the numbers and all the evidence here. Moreover, my personal experience has been that this is a very, tightly integrated piece of the Apple ecosystem. I have an iPad, an iPhone, HomePod, Apple Watch, AirPods, and they all work together very seamlessly to do things like play music, send texts, you know, listen to podcasts, remember dates, set reminders, etc. My phone, my iPad, and my watch are all running on the latest release of their respective um, operating systems. While macOS Monterey, the latest one that they're advertising, the one that would go alongside those, we don't even have an official release date yet. So there are some features like the focus mode that's kind of replaced Do Not Disturb, like the greater mode. You can have a work focus, a gaming focus, or whatever. I set up a work focus for my phone and my watch, and I set it to where it will between devices, which means that if I turn the work on, it'll turn it on for everything running its latest operating system that has this feature, but that doesn't apply to the MacBook because of course macOS Monterey isn't out yet. But back to the positives, some of the best parts of this laptop are the ability to use a digital analog converter. I believe that's what it's called, digital to analog converter, to listen to high-res lossless audio. You can do this on the iPhone, and I actually have done it on the iPad some as well, but I find it more convenient to use on the MacBook because whenever you plug the DAC in, it's just, like if you have your laptop on a table, it just kind of sits there. It should be noted that this isn't exclusive to this laptop. It was just part of the software updates, one of the software updates that came to it that allowed for lossless and high-res lossless in Apple Music. This was something you could do on any laptop, but it wasn't consolidated into Apple Music. Some other good features are the multitasking and using the iPad as the second monitor. It's very useful for a lot of the work I do, considering I have, Safari and then my PDF page and whatever else on, so I could have my references and then I could have my essay or whatever I'm doing. Using the iPad as a second monitor is like it is having a multi-display setup. The keyboard's natural and the Touch ID is, very fast whenever you open your laptop, and if you don't have your watch on or if you just want to use Touch ID, opens instantly. There's literally no lag whatsoever. The display is pretty damn good too because, it's nothing crazy, but it's I believe 1440p. It's got it's very accurate to the different color and whatnot. The speakers are pretty good as well, but not quite as good as the ones on the iPad. They're a little more tinny than the ones on the iPad. The iPad is more full. The trackpad was an entirely new experience, as this was like the first newer MacBook I've had. And I hadn't really seen, or I guess I didn't really look into it much, but the new technology on the trackpad uses that of haptic touch. Like from the iPhone 6s to the 10s, they basically had, 3D touch. Similar to that, you could deeper click on the trackpad, and I thought that was cool. I hadn't really seen anyone talk about that. It also came with a bunch of multi-touch gestures, like you can go into your dock view, you can go to desktop, you can swipe between apps when they're in full screen. Just a whole bunch of cool stuff. I'm still learning, of course, when it comes to that because there's a lot of gestures and a lot of uses for the gestures. The webcam, of course, is not that great because, of course, they haven't super cycled yet. They decided not to upgrade it for some reason this year. It's still a 720p, and they upgraded the image signal processor. So I guess, better processing on the images themselves, but they're baseline 720p. They might look good, but they're still going to be very low res, especially for 2021 when everyone's using probably 1080p and 4K displays. And I mean, its own display is 1440p, so you have a quarter of the quality of the actual display. I think this is probably the most refined we're ever going to see this version of MacBook be, especially MacBook Air and actually MacBook Pros, because the rumors are whenever they do come out with the next version of MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, they're going to be the upgraded ones, the ones with the super cycle, likely going to have flat edges with a more thin display. Rumors include OLED displays. I think I don't know if I heard this or if I'm making it up, but I'm pretty sure there were rumors of a high resolution, sorry, a high refresh rate display, like a 120 hertz display, like we're seeing ProMotion on the iPads and on the new iPhones. So perhaps something like that. Um, they're of course going to get rid of the touch bar for the new MacBook Pros, I believe. Unless they already did that. I don't know, I forgot. But yeah, that's all for this one. If you enjoyed, like. If you didn't, then dislike, I guess. If you want to see more, you can subscribe. Although I'm not going to sit here and act like I upload regularly because the last time I uploaded was 6 months ago. So that's all for this one. See y'all later.